Hey guys, I'm Karina and welcome to my channel Dominando o Mandarim, which means mastering Mandarin in Portuguese. I'm Brazilian and I've lived in China for 15 years. And that's why in this channel we talk about China, we talk about Mandarin, tips on how to learn the language, the culture, a little bit about my story, our life in China. But I actually left China in 2012, wow, almost 10 years ago, and now I live and work in Brazil. I teach Mandarin, I translate, and I also spend some time here making videos for this channel. Well, after more than 200 videos in this channel and after talking to you guys on Instagram, I saw that many of you think the English language is more important than Mandarin. And on some level, I must agree with you. You're gonna end up using a lot more English on your travels, on your business, unless you go to China and unless you deal with Chinese people on your daily basis. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about how I learned English. But before we go on, I'm going to ask you to click on the like button. And if you're not subscribed to this channel, click on the subscribe button because our next goal is 100K subscribers and I really need your help to get to that number. Okay, so how did I learn English? Well, my first contact with English was actually pretty late. I was 7 years old at the time, and we were, well, when I say we, I mean me and my sisters, we were studying at a school in Guangzhou, China. And for the first time, English was a second language because before that, we lived in Macau. In Macau, Portuguese was a second language. So my first contact with English, I was 7 years old. And we had English class for everybody. And the material they had was actually really good. I just didn't learn more because I didn't know Chinese. I didn't know enough Chinese because everything was taught in Chinese. So it made sense for the Chinese kids, but not so much to me. When I was, I think, 9 years old, we moved to Kunming, which is another city in the southwest region of China. And we stayed there for many years. And again, the only contact I had with the English language was at school. We had about 1 or 2 English classes per week and at church. The fellowship was in English, but I couldn't understand pretty much anything. I could pick up a few words that made sense to me. For example, one day a boy made a joke about somebody having a girlfriend. And when I heard the word girlfriend, it made sense to me because in Chinese, girlfriend is 女朋友. 女 meaning girl or woman and 朋友 meaning friend. So that made sense to me. So a few things I picked up because it just made sense. But at that time still, I could only understand about 5 or 10% max of what was being said. People would look at me in the streets and think that I was from an English-speaking country, but obviously I was not. And once I even participated on an English-speaking competition for Chinese people. Well, not necessarily for Chinese people, for anyone, but since most of the people who live in China are Chinese, you know what I mean. In my school, they asked me to participate, of course knowing that my mother language was not English, and English was not something easy for me. I did not have an advantage over the other Chinese kids, but it didn't really make sense for the judges because they would look at me and say, why is a foreigner participating on an English competition? Is it English what she speaks? And I had to go up to every single one of them and explain, oh, 你好，我是巴西人，我的母语不是英语. But obviously because of this, they couldn't let me go through, or just because my English wasn't good enough, maybe, probably. But after that, my parents had this not so great idea. Well, at the time it seemed good, you'll understand why. And we decided, well, they decided that we were all gonna go study English in a not so traditional country, you could say that. And thank goodness it didn't work because the plan was to go study English in India. After 38 days in that eccentric country, we left and we came back to Brazil. We stayed here for about a year and a half. And we got the opportunity to go to the US. My parents got a work visa and we went there. By that time, I was about 11 years old. Yeah, 11 years old. And we just went. For the first time, I felt like I was in a movie because the schools were just like in the movies. The city was just like in the movies. My lifestyle changed completely. We lived in Fresno, California for 7 months, and then we moved to Salem, Oregon for another 7 months. And if I already felt like I was in a movie back in Fresno, in Salem I felt like I was in like a Beverly Hills, Hollywood type of movie thing because we had all the lockers. But at the beginning it wasn't easy. It was hard to make friends. My English wasn't really good. It took me a few months to start understanding what the teachers were saying. You know what? I would just sit in class, look at the teacher, look at everybody else around me, look at the floor, the ceiling, the windows, the door, and I just really wanted to understand what was going on around me. So I just focused. What's the teacher holding up? What's the teacher doing? What's she telling us to do? And suddenly, some things just started to make sense. The more I heard it, even though most of the times I didn't know what it meant, just kind of internalized. And that went on for weeks and months until I was confident to say, okay, now I understand what the teachers are saying. And a few more months to say, okay, now I consider myself to be fluent in English. And it took me even longer to have the courage to start speaking. I remember that I was in the classroom and sometimes the teacher couldn't come and there was a substitute teacher, and every time there was a substitute teacher I hated it because the teacher couldn't know that I didn't speak English, or at least I thought I couldn't, and I would tell my classmate, please go tell the teacher that I don't speak English. Please, please, please go tell the teacher. And I wouldn't stop bugging this person until this person went and told the teacher, look, she's Brazilian, she doesn't speak English, because I was really afraid that the teacher might call out my name and ask me a question, and I would just look at everybody, look at the teacher and say, I don't know, I don't speak English, sorry. But then it took some time for me to start having the courage to speak, and that happened in math class. How? Well, the teacher would put us in small groups, and if you got a question right, your group would get points. And I realized that I was not that bad. Well, I was actually pretty good at math at that point because I had just come from China, and we had to shout out the answer as soon as we solved the problem. At the beginning, I was kind of scared, afraid of doing it, and I would tell my classmates, the answer is 10, the answer is A, B, C, D, whatever. And then I realized that I could just shout it out. It would be much faster, much easier, and I wouldn't have to bother anybody else, and I started doing that. And then people were like, wow, she's good, she knows math, she brings a lot to the group, her group now is always winning, and I love that. I didn't know at the time, but now looking back at some videos and some footages from that time of when we were going down on a zip line, and instead of saying I'm scared, I said I'm scary. Now I look at it and I laugh, but at the same time I know that that was really important, and I had to say whatever I could, whatever came to my mind, because otherwise it would probably take a long time for me to feel that I could speak. We stayed in the US for a little bit over a year, and that was enough for me to learn English. And when I left the US in 2007, I had a really strong American accent. Now I have a little bit of a, I wouldn't say Brazilian accent, a different accent that people don't usually know, can't usually tell where I'm from. But what I want to do with this video is encourage you. I haven't had really an opportunity to speak English for more than a few days ever since I left the US. And sometimes I think, oh, my English is not as fluent as it used to be. Oh, my accent changed. I sound like a foreigner. But still, I have to speak it. Otherwise, it's all gonna go away. So if you're learning Chinese, Portuguese, French, whatever, the thing is, try practicing it as soon as possible. Even if you're just talking to yourself on the mirror, but all of these are opportunities for you to practice, and you can't get anywhere without doing so. And this is a little bit about how I learned English. I hope you guys liked this video. I hope this video somehow helped you. So see you guys soon. 再见.